Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am your host, Amanda, and I am so glad you are here. This is a space for dance teachers and anyone interested in teaching dance who is looking for motivation and fresh ideas. As teachers, we spend our days motivating and giving pep talks to our students, and now this podcast is a pep talk just for you. We hope that it helps to ignite new ideas and even work through some deep dance related thoughts before you head into the studio. Thank you for your support, and now let's get into today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I know that I say this a lot, but I am so excited for today's episode. And the reason being is today really marks a big milestone for myself. This is 1 month of being a podcast. It's our 10th episode. And today, while recording this, we just reached over 100 listens of Dance Teacher Pep Talk. And I am just so beyond excited and overjoyed at everything that this is becoming. And I think this is such a good lesson in general for things because when you have an idea that you feel really strong and passionate about, just go for it because you never know what may come of it. And when I started the podcast just 10 episodes ago, I had such a big dream and vision. And I know that this is only just the beginning. And to see how it's been received and to see how it's grown, even just in a month's time, I did not expect that at all. And so I'm just so appreciative of everyone's support and just even more excited to share more here on Dance Teacher Pep Talk as this dream and vision of mine continues. So, a couple days ago on Dance Teacher Pep Talk Instagram, I put up a poll asking what types of episodes are you looking more for in your season? And I've also just been looking at, in general, what content is doing better on our podcast. And something that is doing really well is our episodes on mindfulness or just mindful reminders for the dance teacher. And for me, I'm so excited about that because that was a huge reason and a huge part of my initial vision for Dance Teacher Pep Talk. And in the poll, people said, yes, more mindfulness content. And so today is really going to be a deep dive. And I thought it would be so important, not only for this time of year, because it's still pretty early September, early to mid September, so we're still kind of like in that new month type of feeling, new energy, especially with the dance year starting. And also, I think it's so important to check in with these concepts and ideas at the beginning of our months, at the beginning of our year. So, today's concept is going to be about some notices that I've had lately for myself. And sometimes I notice that these notices that I have, a lot of people are also experiencing at the same time. And maybe it's the month or the season that we're in, but I really thought it would be a special episode for us to kind of check in and check in with ourselves. And so today I'm going to share my goal for September. And my biggest goal for September is to slow down. So I'm calling it Slow September. And I know that kind of seems a little counterintuitive to the hype and excitement of the new year, but I'm going to kind of explain why through this episode. So, in the beginning of the year, we're so excited, we're so inspired, we're ready to go, fresh ideas, fresh energy, or hopefully, hopefully that's the case. And so we're kind of riding on this like hyped up energy. But when we are riding on like a hyped up energy, have you ever noticed that excitement, that high energy, that kind of like go 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 feeling, it kind of almost pulls us from being present in the moment. And so my goal is to slow down so that I can be present with all the moments and excitement that is happening at this time of year. So, this feeling of needing to slow down kind of came from a rehearsal that I had this past month during a rehearsal for a piece that I'm setting for a local company. And it reminded me of a piece that I had created in the past. And going back to that piece, I all of a sudden was flooded with the reason of why I had created this specific piece. So, the piece that I'm speaking on, the title was called Breathe Here Now, and it was inspired by the book Be Here Now by Ram Dass, and the concepts that really encompass the concept of being here now. And so the whole piece was centered around breathing and being present here and now. And I kind of reflect in general, just a side note, some of my most impactful pieces for me in my mind and in my memory are the pieces that I have created from inspiration from books that I love or from quotes that I love. And they make a really lasting imprint on my mind. And I don't know if it's because the books themselves have meant so much to me, or if it's because reading a book, you spend a lot of time like diving into it, being involved in it, taking the lessons from it, and then to take what you've read and put it on dancers in motion with music. It almost creates a really strong memory, a really strong lesson that I have for myself in my life. And in turn, whenever I'm doing a piece like that, I'm always hoping too that the lesson that is a part of it for the audience is also one for the dancers, because I really, I'm going to do a whole episode on choreography content and concepts and things like that. But I really believe it's so important that we create lasting imprints not only on ourselves for the work that we do, but on our dancers, because they're growing, and it's a beautiful way for them to grow with very important lessons as well. So, Breathe Here Now was the piece. And in the new piece that I'm setting, it kind of started out similarly. So that's why it reminded me of it. And it kind of reminded myself of why is my body and my mind wanting to do this work right now? Why is this coming out? And I was like, whoa, I think it's because it's a message for me that like my mind is like, hey Amanda, don't forget, you need to do this too. You need to breathe here now and really focus on the present moment and slow down. And I think, as I mentioned before, when we're so filled with excitement, it's really easy to just get caught up in that. And this month, I've been so excited over the podcast. I have been so excited and hyped up for all of the family travels that I've been doing with my family. I've been so excited and inspired for the new dance year, for the new pieces that I'm creating. There's been this like buzzy, high energy. And it reminds me too that like, okay, you're feeling all this hype, but are you taking the time to absorb what's going on around you? And that excitement is also almost fueling this piece of overwork. I find myself feeling like if I'm not doing something specific for the podcast, specific for the work that I do as a dance teacher, specific for the pieces that I'm setting, I almost feel like, oh, then I've wasted something. Like, I have 10 minutes. What should I do? How should I fill that 10 minutes? And I get into this like really big state of feeling the need to overwork. And that was kind of a red flag for me, because if I'm filling my entire day, even if it's inspired energy, if I'm filling my entire day revolving around those things, where am I taking the time and space for myself? And where am I even taking the time to appreciate what is happening and what is going on in my life right now? And I remember right around like the point of my, I'd call it burnout in my career, or like my lowest career moment to date, which is going to be a podcast really soon. I noticed the question that bothered me the most in my life was people asking me, like, okay, like if you're at a party or a social function and you're making small talk or conversation, one of the biggest things that I like used to not like people asking me is, what do you do for work? And it wasn't because I didn't love my work. I absolutely love my work. It's because I felt this attachment to work being separate from myself. Like, work does not totally define who I am. However, working a passionate career like dance, I do feel that the career of dance does define us in some ways. But I wanted to be separate from that. Like, I wanted to be Amanda, just me, and to have value in a conversation without bringing up the mention of what I do. And it was, I don't know, like, I don't know if that ever bothers other people too, but it almost made me start to think about like, how much do we equate or value and put worth into the work that we do versus like who we are as a person. Is there a boundary between who we are and between the work we do? Are we defining ourselves with the work we do? And there were definitely times in my life where I allowed work to take over that definition. And I think the reason why I was so upset over that question is because it was definitely a trigger for me to realize that I do spend a lot of time around and dedicated to the work that I do. It's a good thing in sense of like I'm inspired. It's not like a bad thing, but there was something about it that kind of made me realize like this is what people do. Like they ask questions about work. But what about questions like what do you do for fun, or what do you do on the weekends and spend your free time with? What are you dedicated to? What's important to you in your life? Like what about those questions? And I felt that again, why I was triggered is there wasn't really a distinction between the two because dance was a big and is, of course, a huge part of my life. And so people almost like attached everything about dance around me to me. And then they didn't really get to know me as me. And there are so many other interests and deep thoughts that I have. And so, yeah, so it was like a big question and a big thing that like used to bother me. And now when I'm looking at my goal here of slow September, I think the whole point of overwork too is I once again find myself equating my worth to the work that I'm doing. And so if I'm not if I, like I said, if I have 10 minutes and I'm not doing something that feels productive, like I kind of feel like I'm wasting my time. And I keep telling myself, but yeah, take those 10 minutes for yourself and do something to give back to yourself. But I feel bad when I do that. I don't know if anybody else like has this feeling. And so the question that keeps coming up to me during this time where I'm trying to process more of a slow September is how much of your day is filled with busyness? And when you fill up your days, why are you doing it? Do you feel that it equates to your worth? Like, how many items can we check off of the to do list? Can we get it all done in a day? And is that a mark of success? Or is it a mark of like need, like I need to get this done, this is like an important deadline for work? Or how much of it could have been put aside so that maybe you could have done something for yourself in that moment for your life? Because work is work and life is life. And if we need to find that boundary between the two, no matter how inspiring or passionate your career is. We need to find that time for self so that we don't get lost, so that we don't get pulled into the chaos or the busyness. And I truly believe in the value of hard work, but I also feel that we live in a society that gratifies hard work, grit, girl boss energy. It's almost like we're programmed to feel like if we're not busy, then what we're doing doesn't have value. But at the end of the day, like how much life was in your day? And is what you're doing have a value to you? This is such a reflection I feel that we should be making because we shouldn't be so filled that it becomes the expense of who we are and how we live. Dance is such a beautiful thing. And when we are working in the dance field with so much passion and love, it's easy to get wrapped up into this. But we also want to make sure that we're finding the time and the spaces that we're asking ourselves what we're doing outside of our dancing. And I know that a lot of people say that having children becomes something that becomes one of your greatest teachers or greatest learning lessons. And I will say that, through the years, I do find that watching my daughter, like, I've learned a lot of new things about this concept of being present within the moment and trying to not fill my time with busyness. And so, when you think about it, like when you watch a child, even if like, hey, it could be in your creative movement classroom at the dance studio that you teach at. Ask yourself, do these kids have to-do lists? Like, do they start the day with a list of items that they need to accomplish by the end of the day? If they have 10 minutes to themselves, do they feel that they need to fill it with some type of activity or busyness that would be necessary for their day to continue and day to go on? No, they just live in the moment. They are so present. They are discovering, exploring. They take life in the moment that it's happening. And so for me, that's such a big like eye opener because I realize in every moment, where am I putting my time and energy into? Is what I'm doing in this moment serving me, or how can I best make this moment serve me? And it makes me wonder too, like, what did I do before? Like when I had all this time, I I know I spent a lot more time living in the busyness and trying to fill my day, trying to fill it with all the things that I would need to do for my dance night ahead or for the pieces that I was working on. And I need to remind myself that yes, we can plan, we can do those things, we can make sure that we're feeling prepared. But where in your day are you focused on the living aspects, not just the working aspects? And I know it can, like I said, it can get cloudy because dance teaching is a career of passion. So a lot of the time when we're working, we can feel like we're living too. And I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing. But just checking in with yourself from time to time, like, what are you doing for you? Because if we can incorporate that little bit of time for us here and there, or really appreciating and being alive in the moments of living, that's going to make our dance environment, our dance work that we do so much more inspired and so much more open and full of life experience that we can share with our students. Because for me, that is a beautiful teacher too, is coming into the dance room, not just having skills prepared, here I'm teaching you and then leaving, but I want to feel something. I want to leave this class today impacted so that when I'm leaving, I am leaving in a different space than I was in when I entered the room. And we can do that by sharing, life experience, or by sharing even the energy that we bring because we took the time to have that life experience. And so when looking back, I don't want to be known as just the teacher who taught the skills. I want to be known as the teacher who brought important life lessons into the classroom. So take a moment today, as you're going through your day, and check in with yourself. How many items on that to do list are truly important and are serving you and necessary for you in today's day? Is there anything that you can move or shift around? Is there space within that list or that day for you to just have a moment, even if it's a moment in silence, or if it's a walk, or if it's a book that you're reading, something like that that is specifically just for you. I think it's hard for us too to just find moments of silence or stillness. Like if you had 10 minutes right now, what would you do? Are you going to pull out your phone and scroll on social media? Are you going to throw your headphones on and listen to a podcast? Are you distracting yourself? Because that's another question that keeps up coming up for me is, with all this busyness that I'm doing, what am I avoiding? Like if I'm silent and just having like this moment, why do I feel that I need to fill that time with something else other than myself, something outside of myself? And I think that is a really important question that so many of us should ask, because I don't think I'm alone in this, and the idea that why are we filling the space that we have with other things all of the time? So, among all this is another thought that I have. I think it's because it's also like the changing seasons. But as we start this month of September, think about last year and think about at the end of your year when your recital happened, how fast that year went by. There are so many times we get to that point of the end of our year and we think, wow, I cannot believe it's already recital. You look at your graduating seniors and you say, wow, I cannot believe it's time for you to graduate. Like, this is happening. This is really here. So the time does go by really fast. And at times, I think we even rush the time because we're trying to get to the next thing. Okay, that's done. Move along. Let's get to the next thing. So, how often are we rushing through our life? And how often do we rush toward, I need to get this piece done. I need to clean this piece. Okay, it's done. Okay, now we need to get it on the stage and perform it. But are we present and appreciative of the moments that lead us to those times? So for me, Slow September is about cherishing those moments because this is the start of a new dance year and we're never going to get this month back. We're never going to get this time back. So am I going to look at September now, in October, looking back at September and say, wow, that month rushed by. I don't know where it went. Or am I going to say, wow, that month went by really quickly, but I was so present and so connected, and I have so many beautiful memories and moments from this month. So asking yourself with your day, the things that you're looking at, does it all need to get done right now? Is there anything we can move or shift? And is there ways in our day that we can be present? Because it's so important to live life in each moment, in the present, versus living by watching the clock and watching the items that you need to do getting accomplished before such and such a time. So, asking yourself in the moments as well that you're filling with busyness, what are you avoiding? And maybe this is a deeper subject that you need to go into for yourself as well. Because for me, I want to be a better example for my daughter. And I feel that so many of us also want to be better examples for our students. I want to be able to show her that I'm living a beautifully present and mindful life and that I'm not rushing through it and that I'm not rushing by. So I know that we are teachers. We're teachers for our students, we're teachers for our children, we're teachers to our friends and colleagues around us. So what energy are you exuding? What do you give off as priorities in your life? And how can that influence others to maybe look at their lives in different ways? So this September, I'm going to try to make it a goal that even among all the things I'm excited for and all the things that are so amazing in my life, that I'm daily taking time for myself to just have a moment of me and not pulling an outside source and just allowing my thoughts to run through my head and to really sit and be present with that because I definitely don't do it enough and things just rush right by me before I even realize it has happened. And so maybe that is something we can all do. Take a moment in each class. The night that you have a long stretch, say you have like a 5 hour dance night and you are in front of your class, are you really looking at what's happening in front of you? And are you really within that moment with everyone? Or are you thinking, okay, we just did center, got to get across the floor now, and we're moving right on to the next thing? So practicing these ideas, maybe it'll change us. Maybe we'll have a different mindset by the end of September. I don't know. So, we have so many more deep dives coming on the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. And I'm just so excited that you are all enjoying the content. And if you have special topics too that you want to be discussed, you can always send us a message on our Instagram at Dance Teacher Pep Talk. You feel that friends or colleagues or anyone that you know could relate to this episode, please send it along. There is so much goodness ahead here on Dance Teacher Pep Talk. And already I feel that we've gotten into some deep topics and some deep thoughts that are really going to make this dance year a beautiful one, not only for our students, but for ourselves. Because I don't want to look back at recital and think, wow, that year went by so fast. I want to look back and think, even if it did go by fast, that I really lived and was present in each moment because the years go by so quickly. So don't forget to check in here often for new topics. We have podcasts every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I hope you have an amazing day and a beautiful week ahead. Talk to you soon, everybody.